Hello, in this video, I'm going to run through all of the cards in my Emiel the Blessed Enters and Bouncing Commander deck. I'm going to run through the creatures, artifacts and enchantments, instants, sorceries, and lands that make up my combo deck. Now, this is a combo deck. You don't have to combo off with it, but mine is a combo build. So Emiel the Blessed is white, white, 2, legendary creature unicorn. For 3 mana, you can exile another target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay green and a white. If you do, put a ++ encounter on it. If it's unicorn, it gets 2 ++ encounters. So the commander deck has a color identity of white and green, since our commander has a green mana symbol on it. Again, the focus of this deck is to pay 3 and bounce the creature that gives you whatever synergy you need in the moment. So, put it right here. First up, I'm going to run through the creatures. There's a lot of creatures in this deck because, we're bouncing the creatures. So first up, I wanted to introduce one of the combo cards, Workhorse. So Emiel the Blessed has 3 bounce a creature. So when this comes into play, it has 4 counters. Remove 3 of them to add 3 colorless. Then with Emiel, you can bounce it. So now another creature enters the battlefield. So if you have an effect like, let me find one, this. You get to destroy as many artifacts and enchantments that are in play as you want. You get to draw your entire deck with Guardian Project. And then creatures you control get ++ counters when something enters. For Hardened Scales, whenever a creature enters with 1 or more, it gets an additional 1, so you can build up infinite mana. So that's the way the combos, that's one of the combos in the deck, is that just this by itself can combo with our commander. So Workhorse is very good in this deck. Now, I understand not everyone's going to want to build this the combo way, so you could just not play that card, but other good cards are Foundation Breaker. For 4 mana, when it enters, you can destroy target artifact or enchantment, or you can evoke it for 2 and just pay less, like the normal cost of naturalize and get the creature. Now, with the evokes trigger on the stack, you can pay 3 to Emiel and bounce it, and when it comes back, it destroys another target artifact or enchantment, and it'll stand to play because that creature won't know that the other creature was evoked. So you could pay 5 mana, essentially, to destroy 2 things. So that's something good you could do there. Brood Monitor, this is another combo with Emiel the Blessed. For green, 4, creature Eldrazi Drone. It enters the battlefield, create 3 1/1 scions with sack this creature added colorless. It enters, you sack the 3 things to Emiel, you bounce it again, you get the 3 things, you sacrifice them, you bounce it again. And then you have, infinite creatures entering and leaving the battlefield. And anything that makes an extra token gives you additional mana. Thorn Mammoth, whenever it or another creature enters under your control, it can fight up to 1 target creature you don't control. So while you're bouncing your other things with Emiel, this thing can fight. You have to be careful because unless this is the one that's entering and leaving over and over again, the damage will stack up against its toughness, and so you have to be careful with that. Knight of the White Orchard, white, creature, human knight, a 2/2 with first strike. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you, you may search your library for a plains card, put on the battlefield, and shuffle. You have 3 opponents. There's a decent chance one of them is going to probably just have more lanes than you throughout the game. And it's important to note that this can get any planes, not just a basic plane. So you can go get a Temple Garden or other, white and green. White and green are just good white plains cards. Brutalizer Exarch for green 3. Look at that guy's freaking face. For green 5, it's a 3/3 creature cleric. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1. Search your library for a creature card, reveal it, shuffle your library and put it on top of it, or put target non-creature permanent on the bottom of its owner's library. So, this can go get you a combo piece by giving you a creature card, and you can, every time you bounce it, you can choose. But if you have infinite mana, because you can bounce creatures infinitely, you can put target land, which is a non-creature permanent that your opponents control on the bottom of their owner's library, and just get all of their lands out of play. So that's a cool little guy. Just look at that artwork. A Dentist's Dream. Elvish Visionary for green 1, so 1/1, super simple, enters the battlefield, draw a card. So you can draw some cards. Fierce Empath, 3 mana, 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost 6 or greater, reveal and put into your hand and shuffle. You can do that multiple times. It can get Workhorse, and it can get Brood Monitor, and you can also get Thorn Mammoth if you need to do some damage and some other things too, but this can go grab your combo pieces for just 3 mana. So you can go 3 mana into this, 4 mana into this, turn 5 if you have turn 2 Arcane Signet, turn 3 Fierce Empath, tier 4 Unicorn, turn 5 into your combo piece. You have a lot of stuff. Meter Golem, 7 mana. When it enters, destroy target non-land permanent an opponent controls. So you can go ahead and, bounce this, and, you don't have to just combo off. So just over the course of the game, untapping all of your lands and using these effects to deal with problematic permanents, Meteor Golem's perfect. Inspiring Overseer, whenever it enters, you gain 1 and draw a card. and this one has flying. So being able to draw cards for 3 mana is good. Kogla, the Titan Ape. Whenever this enters, it fights with one target creature you don't control. Whenever it attacks, destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls. 2 mana, return target humor to its owner's hand. Against indestructible on final turn. Now the White Orchard is one human we've seen so far, but really it's just when it enters, it fights something. Having that multiple times is great. And a lot of commanders, if they're playing, non-creature based decks, you can kill a lot of commanders with sick toughness because, if you're thinking about the fact you don't want this creature to trade, it can absorb up to 5 power. Forbidding Spirit. I've won games with this. When it enters battlefield until your next turn, creatures can't attack you or planeswalker you control unless their controller pays 2 for each of those creatures. So if your opponents don't realize it, you can have these 2 cards in the battlefield, Emiel and Forbidding Spirit. And then when they go to move to combat, you can pay 3, bounce it, and now they can't attack unless they pay 2. And if they played their, big creatures or their commander out pre-combat, you can make sure they can't attack you. Or just specifically. Ascetic Slime, green, 3, Death Touch. When it enters, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. Just another way to deal with problematic permanents, and you can bounce it because it's an ETB. Wall of Blossoms can absorb some damage, and then bounce it to draw a card. Trusty Retriever for 4 mana. It can either enter with a plus encounter, or return target artifact or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. We're really using it to answer and bounce and get one of our artifacts or enchantments back, and then, Workhorse is also an artifact. So, I know I keep talking about Workhorse, but it's, the combo of the deck. So, it can get you one of your artifacts or enchantments. Harmonic Sliver, whenever this permanent enters the battlefield. All slivers have when this permanent enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact or enchantment. This is really just as whenever this enters. And honestly, I think I want to trade it out for Lauren. So I think this is the only sliver in the build. So really, I just want to replace it with Lauren, which I'll do real quick. So, Lauren of the Third Path is the new card in this deck. You guys got to see it live. White 2, legendary creature, human artificer. It has vigilance. Whenever it enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment, and then tap you and target opponent each draw a card. So you get more value off of than just having the Harmonic Sliver. Plus, the Harmonic Sliver has the weakness. Now that's out of the deck. I'll admit the weakness. If your opponents play a Changeling, they get to destroy an artifact or enchantment, and it can be yours. So that's not good. Deep Forest Hermit. Green 3 for Vanishing 3. When this creature enters the battlefield to 3 time counters on the beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter from when the last remove, sacrifice it. When it enters, make 4 1/1. Squirrels you control get +1/+1. So Green Forest Hermit is good with cards like, let me see, Ashnod's Altar and Ashnod's Altar. Surprised I don't have the other altar in here. What's it called? The 3 mana, sacrifice it, get a color mana. But Ashnod's Altar, I guess that card, which is expensive when I originally made the deck. Ashnod's Altar is 3 mana. Flag a creature, make 2 colorless. So this you can build up creatures, and then you can sacrifice them, 2 of them, to get a meal. And so you can keep bouncing and get infinite 1/1s. Glorious Protector. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile any number of non-angel creatures you control until it leaves the battlefield. This can be board wipe protection. You can flash into play, put everything under it, and then enters. Or, there's going to be a board wipe, so you put everything under it. But also, you can pay 3 to put everything under it. And so instead of just paying 3 to get this infinitely coming in and out of play, you can put them all under the Glorious Protector and then just bounce the Glorious Protector. And while it's in exile, everything comes back. You get all the triggers. And then this comes back and it absorbs them again. And you pay 3 again. And you do this. And then you use the squirrels to make infinite. So you can not just bounce one creature infinitely, but you can get more value off of it at the same time. So that's what Glorious Protector can do in this deck. Knight of Autumn can destroy artifacts or enchantments, or you can gain life for +2/+2 counters on it. Really, it's just important you can gain life if you need life, or you can destroy artifacts or enchantments and bounce it. Nadar, Selfless Paladin. For 3 mana, it's a legendary creature, Dragon Knight with Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, enter into the dungeon. Other creatures you control get +1/+1 as long as you control the dungeon. So, once you have infinite mana, you can bounce things infinitely. And Nadar is another card that can help you win. So if you're venturing infinitely, you're going to go through Dark Pool. So you're going to Cave Entrance, Scry 1, make a 1/1. Each opponent loses a life and you gain a life, draw a card. So you can infinitely, or as many times as you need to, go through the dungeon. You don't have to be careful about drawing cards, but you can, as many times as you need to, make a 1/1, lose a life, draw a card. Do. So, bouncing this as many times as you can, you'll win with Dark Pool. Inevitably. Nest Invader, it's just a 2/2 that makes a guy. So it can build up your colorless, or you can take advantage of them in the future. Cavalier of Dawn is white 2 for Creature Elemental Knight Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, destroy up to one target non-land permanent. Its controller makes it 3/3. Whenever it dies, return target artifact or enchantment card figure to your hand. So this is just important to know that you can destroy things and make them replace them with a 3/3. It's not the best, but it can destroy planeswalkers and destroy some other things. So it's not the best thing to bounce, but it's good. Eyeless Watcher can give you 2 1/1s that you can sacrifice as Altal. Now you can have this enter the battlefield infinite number of times, or you can just sacrifice them with mana. Maybe I should have gone through the artifacts first because I keep introducing them to you. As the game, not the game goes on, that's stupid to say, as the deck goes through, but Hearthstone reduces the activated ability of the creature control by 1, so Eyeless Watcher could go infinite with Emiel, just have infinite enters. Elvish Rejuvenator, when it enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a land card from one of them onto the battlefield tapped, put the rest of your bottom of your library in a random order. So you just look at the 5, put a land to play, put those 5, put a land to play, and just, get all the lands out of your deck, which is good. Seedborn Muse untaps all permanency controls on each other player's untapped step. So, you have all your lands, you can untap all of your lands, and then bounce as many things as you need to do, and then go to the next player's turn, bounce as many things as you need to do. So, it's good. When it enters the battlefield, until end of turn, damage will reduce your life total to less than 1, reduces it to 1 instead. So, this could keep you alive. Pay 3, bounce it, and then you can just blink their attack, which is nice. Farhaven Elf, when it enters, you may search your life for a basic land card, put it into battlefield, tap, then shuffle. It's good to get lands. Inquisitor Exarch, when it enters the battlefield, choose one, you gain 2 life, or target opponent loses 2 life. If you have infinite mana, you can bounce this infinite times and make your target opponent lose 2 life over and over and over again. Sun Titan, I'm sure you notice there's a ton of 3-drops in the deck, and this can get them all back, including cards like Fetch Lands, because, just target permanent cards when a mana costs 3 or less, fetch land 0. So that's good. And it can also, bounce in and get all those things back, which is nice. Skyclave Apparition, when it enters the battlefield, exile up to 2 target non-land, non-token permanents you don't control for an amount of cost 4 or less, and then replaces it. When it leaves the battlefield, the exiled card's owner creates an XX illusion. So, just back to Sun Titan real quick. You can sacrifice like 2 creatures to Ashnod's Altar and then bounce Sun Titan again and then get those 2 creatures back. Sacrifice and then keep doing that. And this can just be removal and get rid of non-land, non-token permanents slowly. But every single time they just make an illusion behind it. Stonehorn Dignitary. White 3, when it enters, target opponent skips his or her combat phase. So, target opponent skips their combat phase. So if you pay 3 mana, skip the combat phase, skip the combat phase, skip the combat phase. And then if you have anything like Seedborn Muse, which is right there, it's super easy to bounce this many times you need to. Duplicant, when it enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-token creature, and as long as it's exiled, it has the power, toughness, and card types of the last creature exiled with it. But really, it's 6 mana, bounce it, exile a creature, which is nice. Cuzlike's Predator. This follows the same guidance that I said with Eyeless Watcher. It gives you 2 things, and you can use those things to build up mana or sacrifice them over time. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a non-legendary green creature card. Random mana costs 3 or less. Put on the battlefield and shuffle your library. So, this is also better with the Sliver. Because I remember this card can go get the Sliver card, and it can also get, has to be green, so you can get a land. It can get you a land. And then Knight of Autumn is the card to get if you need to destroy artifacts or enchantments, because it's green and not legendary. If you need a Wall of Blossom, something, you could do that. So, this can enters and fill up your battlefield. Kadama of the East Tree, green 4. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, if it wasn't part of the battlefield with this ability, you may put a permanent card of equal or less amount of value from your hand on the battlefield. Every single time you bounce things, you can put another card from your hand on the battlefield. So anything that is 3 mana draw a card, you can just keep putting things on battlefields, including lands. So you drawing a card, as long as it's 3 or less, you can just keep putting it into play if you're drawing a card of something that's 3. Generous Patron. When enters the battlefield, support 2, play a plus counter each of up to 2 target creatures. Whenever one or more counters are put on a creature you don't control, draw a card. So you can. This is interesting. I'm pretty sure this has a combo with Workhorse, because it can give you an extra counter if you bounce more than one thing. But you can also put a puzzle counter on one of your opponent's creatures and draw a card. And I'm pretty sure, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I can put a puzzle counter on a creature of opponent A and a puzzle counter of a creature on opponent B and draw 2 cards. For one or more puzzle counters, put a creature in control. I think so. So I'm pretty sure you can do it and then draw 2 cards off the same creature. Llanowar Visionary, when it enters the battlefield, draw a card, and they can also tap for mana. And then, yeah, the promo looks sick. Drawing cards. Revel Arc, whenever it leaves the battlefield, return up to 2 target creature cards with power 2 or less, you can give it to the battlefield. This can combo off with something in the deck, and I wish I knew what it was. But, it's Workhorse, can do that too. But you can, whenever it leaves the battlefield, so whenever you exile with Emiel, it puts 2 things back into the battlefield, such as the Workhorse, which then you could sacrifice the 4 counters, because it has 0 power. Sacrifice 4 counters, you have 4 colors mana, and then this comes back into play. Then you bounce it again. You do Workhorse, and so you build up infinite mana that way, which you can use to do something. Abdel Adrian Gorian's Ward. I'm going to pretend I said that right. For a white 4, it's a 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-land permanents you control until it leaves the battlefield. Create a 1/1 creature token for each permanent exile this way. So, as I said with the Guardian Angel, this you just exile multiple permanents under it, and then you can just bounce this. You can just pay 3 to bounce like 3 things at the same time, because then they all come back and it gives you the 3 things. And you bounce it again. It's all thrown back. So, because this goes into exile, gives you the other stuff back. And then Eternal Witness is 3 mana. When it enters, you may search your library for a card and put it into your hand. And you all know that getting things back from the graveyard into your hand is good, and you can bounce it. So, those are all of the creatures in my Emiel the Blessed deck. I do think there's a lot of redundancy in like drawing cards and artifacts when you look at it from this point of view. But if you think about the fact that over the course of one game, you're only going to see like half of your cards or a third of your cards, it makes sense to have a lot of duplication. Heartstone, I already kind of explained, but for 3 mana, it's an artifact. The cost of each creature ability requiring activation cost is reduced by 1. This cannot reduce the ability's generic mana cost to less than 1. So these are all the artifacts and enchantments. We'll go through these next, but this can drop our commander's cost to 2, which is nice. Aston's Altar Site creature, add to colorless. This works really well with any kind of thing that makes tokens and can let us bounce infinite number of times. Panharmonicon, this is beat up because this is from the Kaladesh. Back when my brother opened this pack 2016, we traded for it, and this card's like 10 years old, back when we played Kitchen Table Sleeveless Commander, but Panharmonicon's 4 mana artifact. If an artifact or creature entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So all these things that make 2 tokens make 4 tokens. All these things that make 3 tokens make 6 more tokens. And everything that, they can't attack you. They choose another player. Destroy 2 artifacts. Destroy 2 lands. So Panharmonicon, really good. Soaring, 1 artifact, tap, add 2 to your mana pool. It's just a good card. Aura Shards, whenever a creature comes into play under your control, you may destroy a target artifact or enchantment. Every single time something enters, destroy an artifact or enchantment is good. Teleportation Circle, at the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target artifact or creature controlled, return to the battlefield under its control. It's a little slow because it only happens once per turn, but it's still good to get some value off of things. Swiftfoot Boots can give your commander hexproof, and then all these creatures, when you bounce them, have summoning sickness again. You can use Swiftfoot Boots to give them haste, which is nice. Guardian Project, whenever a non-token creature enters under your control, if it doesn't have the same name as another target creature control or a creature card in your graveyard, draw a card. So every single time when you bounce one of these, you also draw a card, which is nice. Wilderness Reclamation, at the beginning of your end step, untap all lanes you control. With your commander, you have a finite amount of mana, so you have a finite amount of times you can bounce the creatures you control to draw cards and draw into your combo pieces or deal with problematic permanents. But untapping all lands in your end step basically doubles the amount of mana you have to bounce things. So that's why, Wilderness Reclamation is good. Blessed Sanctuary, prevent all non-combat damage we dealt to you and creatures you control. To protect you against cards like Blasphemous Act. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, make a 2/2 white unicorn creature token. Gives you another thing you can sacrifice. Plus, it's unicorns. It's all fun. Arcane Signet, every commander deck since Permanent Eldraine will play an Arcane Signet. Cathar's Crusade, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1 count on each creature you control. You have all these things entering, those Eldrazi Scions that make 2 of them. It's a creature +2, means everything gets 3 +1/+1 counters. Super good. Lightning Greaves, Haste Shroud, 0 mana. Protect our commander. Our commanders will die a lot. Illusionist Brazers, whenever an ability of an equipped creature is activated, if it isn't a mana ability, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. So you have to choose, if this is on your commander, which is where it's going to belong, you can't choose to copy the ability and bounce this twice. You have to choose 2 different creatures, but doubling the amount of value you get from every enter the battlefield and every bouncing is good. Solemn Simulacrum should have been in the creature pile, but I got distracted by the fact it's an artifact. 4 mana when it enters, you search the library for a basic land card, put the battlefield tapped in the shelf of your library. Whenever it dies, you draw a card. So this can just ramp you the colors we need. Smothering Tithe, everyone knows Smothering Tithe does. Hardened Scales for 1 green, it's an enchantment. If one or more counters would be put on a creature you control, put that many +1 counters instead. So all those things that enter +1 counters, Cathar's Crusade, and then you can pay mana to your Emiel, for example. Also, just extra counters is good. Altar of the Beard, whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent puts a top card of their library into the graveyard. If you have infinite enters in battlefield, and if you're bouncing things infinitely and you need a way to win, Altar of the Brood can do it, because you don't have access to like Impact Tremors or the other red cards that deal damage to your opponents. You have to do it in white and green. So, Nim Death Mantle. This is another combo equipment. For 2 mana, it's an artifact equipment. A cryptic creature gets +2/+2 and has Intimidate, and it's a black zombie. Whenever a non-token creature is punched or graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay 4 if you do return to the battlefield with this attached to it. So, this also combos with Workhorse. Because it has 4 counters, you remove the 4 counters. So you have to have a way to have 4 equipped. You may play 4 if you do return them to the battlefield with stats. Okay, so Workhorse, let me find it real quick. Or, yeah, Workhorse is the example I'm going to use first. So if this is in play, has 4 counters, remove the 4 counters and it dies. And then this goes, whenever a card is punched to the graveyard, you may pay 4, pay the 4 colorless, and then this comes back, and this is a reattached to it. So now you have infinite things entering and dying. It also works well with the Eldrazi's that make 2. If they're double the number of tokens that enter, then it's 4, and you can pay the 4 immediately, like you sacrifice the 4 Scions, and you have this. And then Sculpting Steel copies any artifact. So if you need Death Mantle, if you need Altar of the Brood, Simulacrum, in this pile, copy your Workhorse maybe, and then copying Penharmonicon or Hearthstone is always good. Hearthstone can make the bouncing 1 mana if you have 2 of them, which is very nice. Next up, it's only a couple, but I'm going to go through the Sorceries and instants in the deck. First up is Lae'zel's Acrobatics. For white, 3 is an instant. Exile all non-token creatures you control, then roll a d20. To pay 1 through 9, return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of next end step, or for 10 through 20, return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control, then exile them again. And then return them at the beginning of the next end step. So this is really in the deck to be some amount of protection against a board wipe. And it's not that weird to hold up protection in this deck, because Emiel costs 3 mana anyway. So if you just keep 4 mana up, you could use Emiel once, but you can also hold this up, and then if they board wipe, you can exile everything, and then you get value from them entering the battlefield because your deck is full of enter the battlefield abilities. Enlightened Tutor, you can get an artifact or enchantment card. If you want to combo off or win, you can play Tutors. And so if you don't want to play Tutors, you don't have to play Tutors. Altar of the Brood, sacrifice a creature, look through the library for a creature card, and then put it into your hand. Shuffle your library afterwards. Just another Tutor. This search your library for a card, Tutor, and then Swords to Plowshares. Exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. Again, it would be super easy to play non-tutors in this spot. Just, land ramp or anything else. Other removal spells, all would be good. Next, I'm going to go through the lands. There are, I would say, for a deck that I would make a good amount of basics on basics, because a lot of things like look for specifically basics. But Windswept Heath can search for forest or plains. Plains, Temple Garden, it's the corresponding Shockland. Plains every plains or forest in this deck. I'm going to point them out actually. They're all different. A lot of them are forest, but they're all different and unique. So this is a foil Strixhaven, foil promo of some sort, Magic Fest Forest promo, a promo pack land from 2019, Sun Petal Grove, Brushland from the, let's see what deck this is from. So it's from one of the World's decks from Brussels, so that's cool. Pre-Dominar United, these are like $10 cards. I used to be a college student, and when I was in college I was broke, so I got the gold bordered version because they were like $2. Marsh Flats, my play group is nice on proxies. If we own one of the card, we can sleeve it into multiple decks, and I probably own like 5 or 6 Marsh Flats, but there's not in this build. So this can get a plains or a swamp. Beside you who endures, you can just have it enter as a green land, or you can destroy an artifact or enchantment or non-basic land opponent controls need the extra value. Dominaria United Plains, just Dominaria Plains, sorry. This is another Magic Fest Forest promo, another Magic Fest White, Plains. Forest is Zendikar Rising Land, Horizon Canopy from Doctor Who. Unicorn Land, Canopy Vista. You have lots of basics, so this really isn't that big of a punishment. Branch Loft is green on one side, white on the other. You have a Mile Cradle of Growth. It just fixes your mana really well. Turn Timble, Symbiote Wood. On this side is pay through life, tab it, enter the battlefield untapped, and it becomes it's a green. Or turn Timber Symbiosis for green 4 sorcery. Look at the top 7 cards to your library. You may put a creature card from among one of the battlefield. If the card has a converted mana cost 3 or less, it enters as 3 additional plus counters on it. And tons of 3s have 3 or less. But really, because we're only paying because we're only paying 2 colors and we have tons of like cards that go get any basic we need to. I'm shaking the camera a lot. These cards, and I have another one next, are just good because they add more it prevents you from just flooding. Amiri's Call is 4 white sorcery. Create 2 4/4 angels with flying. And then non-angel creatures you control get indestructible in 10 of turn. So if you have a board wipe going on, it gives you 2 4/4s that are going to die immediately, but then can protect everything else. And 7 mana, I mean, is way too much to pay for indestructible, but it's a show hand. So if you're in the late of the game where it's 7 mana is okay. Overgrown Farmland, Wooded Bastion, Selesnya Forest, Command Tower, another Strixhaven Forest, Misty Rainforest. Now, I did get a comment, and I want to explain this. Forests are islands. In Commander, it goes off of the mana symbols on cards. That's why Emiel can have a green color identity. Mentioning the name of the land like an island is not color identity breaking. Arctic's Treeline. There are I don't usually like to play strictly tapped lands in this in any of my Commander decks, but because I have so many cards that go get a basic land like a forest or a plains and put into play tapped, Arctic Treeline is good because it's just one of like the 30-35 lands in the deck, and since it has to come into play tapped anyway based on the card that grabbed it, like this one, that's just basic land card. But here, let me give an example. The White Knight would be a good example. If an opponent, this just gets a plains, but there are cards in the deck. Let's see, Farhaven Elf or IP1. Let's see, that's just basic land. Okay, there are cards in the deck that get you tap lands, and then this can just be additional value. Another nice plains. This is the Cat Prowl Jumpstart Forest. Dungeon Dragons Plains, Arid Mesa, Fortified Village, Reveal Forest or Plains. I have a ton of those. And then Bountiful Promenade. And those are all of the cards in my Emiel the Blessed Commander deck. It is a combo deck, but you don't have to build a combo. It has tutors, and I'm sure it's high bracketed. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any recommendations for my deck or cards you're definitely including in yours, let me know in the comments below. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and may your top decks be ever in your favor. Thanks.